thing came about through Nancy, my sister's husband, Mark Tinnell, who is a cyclist, and he's on a team, and they actually do real rigorous, difficult, long races together where they kind of work together as a team. And one morning he got on his bike with the rest of their team and went from the valley of Salt Lake City up close to the top of I think it was Brighton Mountain. So all the way up to the top of the mountains above Salt Lake City. And about midway through, Mark had taken off well in front of the team, and they were lagging behind. The entire team was trying to catch him, and he was literally minutes ahead of them. Got to the top of the mountain, took his helmet off, got off his bike, and waited for them. And they got to the top and said, "What the heck just happened? We have been pushing as hard as we ever have, and we can't keep up with you. What are you on?" And he drove down to the bottom of the mountain, got on the phone and said to my dad, "You have a performance enhancer." And he said, "What do you mean?" He says, "This stuff enhances performance, and it does so safe, legally. It's not a drug, all that kind of stuff." And so we immediately took it to a number of institutions where they were measuring VO2 max, which is an interesting concept. It's essentially how in tune can you get your body so that it can take the oxygen that you're bringing in and turn it into fuel. So there's kind of a number that you can get to for all athletes, and it's called VO2 max, and it actually increases your VO2 max, or your threshold for turning oxygen into energy. And normally it takes athletes months and months and months to even move it a little bit, and we have shown that it can increase that up to 12% almost immediately. So a lot of the work that was done on this was done in the Human Performance Lab at Appalachian State, working in conjunction with the University of North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, and a couple others in Raleigh, North Carolina, close to Research Triangle Park, where Dr. David C. Neiman did some studies on athletes given ASEA and a placebo to see if ASEA was real. And what they found was, in their terms, astonishing, remarkable, in some cases unbelievable. Dr. Neiman at one point said, "I've been looking for this for 30 years. So this does not make you stronger. It doesn't make you faster. It allows you to go longer, harder. And so this is really for endurance athletes. And once you understand the components that make up the different energies that you can take into your body, fats, proteins, and carbs, you understand that there's a relationship, and really the only two energies are not proteins. Proteins will help infrastructure, but it's fats or carbs, and they trade off. So if you want to go fast quickly, it's carbs. If you want to go long, it's fats. But you have to have kind of a burning of one to have the other. So what this allows you to do is spare glucose in your bloodstream so that it can be there at the end of the race, allowing you to go longer. So, there's some diagrams that if I were to show you, you'd say, "Oh, it makes perfect sense." But essentially what you're doing is, a lot of the athletes take in as much carbs as they can. Right before a race, you can get about 390 grams of carbs in your body. And at that point, in your blood and liver, you're full. You can't do more. They've actually done studies and shown that, if you continue to eat carbs, you can't get more than about 390 grams in there. So at some point, you're going to run out. But ASEA helps the body use fats, fatty free acids from adipose tissue, mainly in your stomach, and it can use it as a source of fuel. And when you look at what kind of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is built from fats in comparison to carbs, you realize that form of energy is more than 2 times as effective. Meaning, if your car now gets, and I'm in the US, so I'll use miles, but say it's 30 miles to the gallon, this would give you 65 miles or 70 miles to the gallon. It simply allows you to go longer because you're using your own adipose tissue fats. and the body's using that form of energy to help you go longer. So that's all I'll say on the athletic side, but it is a great advantage to those who use it, especially for long-term swimmers, hikers, bikers, anyone who's doing kind of more of a long-term thing versus sprinting. A buddy of mine went up into the mountains hunting elk, and he's a bigger guy. And he took some early in the morning. He said, I could not believe the energy I had. He said, I walked the entire day. And he lost quite a bit of weight. And it's a great benefit to those who have interest in losing a little weight. But he said, I could keep going. I just kept going and going. And so if you haven't tried it for that purpose, you should. So let me turn